Brianna had always known her place, an invisible servant in the mansion of the powerful Ashfords. But when she overhears a plot to frame her brother for a crime he didn't commit, everything changes. With her brother's future on the line, does she have what it takes to outsmart the Ashfords and reclaim what's rightfully theirs? Would her invisibility be her greatest weapon? Before we go deeper into this story, let us know in the comments section where you're watching us from. And if you enjoy this story, kindly like and subscribe so you don't miss any episode like this, and also to support the channel. Brianna Taylor moved like silence itself through the Ashford estate. The kind of silence you learn when people treat you like you're part of the wallpaper. The floors gleamed beneath her sneakers, marble so polished it nearly mocked her reflection. She clutched the cleaning tray against her chest as she stepped into the grand hallway with high ceilings, crystal chandeliers, and oil paintings of stern white ancestors watching her with eyes that had never known struggle. Senator Charles Ashford's estate, tucked in the leafy outskirts of Washington, D.C., was a monument to old money, wealth that had never skipped a generation. Brianna didn't belong here, and everyone reminded her without saying a word. She adjusted the earbuds tucked into her hoodie, one in, one out, just enough to hear if someone called her name. She wasn't allowed music on the job, but it helped drown out the sharp comments from Mrs. Margot Ashford or the empty stares from Chase, their son, who treated her like something the Roomba missed. The podcast episode, Black Voices in Tech, Building Equity from the Ground Up, played faintly in her ear. She smiled softly. It reminded her of Malik, her little brother, who would make it by coding his way out of the system, out of D.C., out of everything. She had made peace with her place here. She scrubbed their sinks, folded their designer sheets, and smiled when spoken to, not because she was weak, but because she had a plan. With its long hours and low pay, a job like this came with one benefit: invisibility. And invisibility could be powerful. Brianna's heart skipped a beat when she heard the hushed voices behind the study door. She had just finished dusting the hallway when she caught the edge of a conversation that wasn't meant for her ears. Instinctively, she pressed her back against the wall, the tray of cleaning supplies cold against her skin. Her earbuds had slipped out, but she didn't dare move to put them back in. The words on the other side of the door cut through the stillness like a blade. "I don't care how we do it," Senator Charles Ashford's deep voice growled, low and controlled. "We need someone to take the fall for this. It can't be one of us." There was a pause, followed by the rustling of papers. Brianna's pulse quickened, but she stayed rooted to the spot. Margot Ashford's voice, sharp and crisp, sliced through the air. "Chase's little friend. What was his name?" "Malik Taylor. That's the one." She paused, then laughed bitterly. "Perfect. He's too smart for his own good, and nobody will question it. He's the right kind of scapegoat." Brianna's stomach turned. Her hands trembled around the cleaning tray. Malik? Her little brother? What were they talking about? "He's just a poor black kid," Chase said. "How hard could it be to pin it on him?" "Not hard at all," Senator Ashford replied, his tone too confident. "The kid's smart, but he's got no real power. Unless we say so, no one will believe he had access to those files. Once we leak the story, it's over for him. All we need is the right timing." Brianna's blood ran cold. Her mind raced. This wasn't about framing someone, but about destroying her brother, Malik. She had warned him of his friendship with Chase. She knew he didn't make friends with him because he liked him. He had to be waiting for a day like this. Her chest tightened as the weight of the realization hit her. It was a setup, timed perfectly to ruin Malik's future. Brianna's hands shook. She knew the Ashfords had power. They could make things disappear, control the narrative. And Malik would be left holding the bag. She took a step backward, careful not to make a sound. Her chest ached, but she kept breathing steadily, forcing herself to think. She couldn't act on this alone. She needed help. The door creaked as if sensing her presence, and Brianna froze. She heard footsteps on the other side, but just before she could dart away, the door swung open with a soft click. She barely caught sight of Senator Ashford's eyes, narrowing in a glance that lasted less than a second before he turned his back and walked toward the opposite wing of the house. Brianna didn't dare breathe until his footsteps faded into the distance. She took another quiet step backward and disappeared into the shadows. She had to act fast. Malik's life was on the line. The Ashford estate. Later in the evening, Brianna spent the next few hours cleaning in a daze, her mind buzzing with plans and possibilities. Her thoughts circled back to Malik, the laughter they'd shared growing up, the bond they'd built despite everything. She couldn't let these people destroy him. As the evening shadows lengthened and the house grew quieter, she stood in the staff hallway outside the kitchen, her heart racing. She needed information, a way to fight back, and the only person she could trust was Marisol, the cook. Marisol had worked for the Ashfords for years. She was a quiet, observant woman who had seen the Ashfords at their best and worst. She'd seen the cracks in the perfect family facade, and Brianna hoped Marisol could help her find a way to expose them. She found her in the kitchen, humming softly as she prepared dinner for the Ashfords. Brianna knocked gently on the doorframe before stepping inside. "Marisol," Brianna said in a low voice, her eyes scanning the room to ensure no one was nearby. "I need to talk to you." Marisol looked up from the cutting board, her sharp eyes softening when she saw Brianna's expression. She wiped her hands on a towel and motioned for Brianna to come closer. "What's going on, Mija?" she asked, her voice full of concern. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Brianna took a deep breath, glancing around the room again before lowering her voice to tell Marisol what she had heard earlier in the day. Marisol froze, her eyes narrowing. She leaned in closer, lowering her voice. "Are you sure? Are you sure it's your brother?" Brianna nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. "They'll ruin his life. I need your help," she pleaded. Marisol was silent for a long moment, her gaze distant, as if she were weighing the consequences. Finally, she sighed, her shoulders slumping. "You're not the first person to notice something's off around here," she murmured, glancing around the kitchen to make sure no one was eavesdropping. "I've seen things, heard things. The Ashfords, they don't care about anyone but themselves. If they can destroy your brother to protect their own reputation, they'll do it." Brianna's heart hammered in her chest. "So you'll help me?" Marisol hesitated but nodded slowly. "We can't take them on alone. But I know a few things. There's a safe hidden in the senator's study. I've seen him use it. If we can get inside, we might be able to find something that proves their corruption, something that'll expose their lies." Brianna's eyes lit up. This was it. This was her chance. "We need to act fast. If we wait, they'll make their move, and Malik won't even see it coming." Marisol glanced around again before leaning in. "I'll help you get in, but you'll need to be careful." Brianna nodded, determination flooding through her veins. The cook patted her back and gave her a small, reassuring smile. The mansion was quieter now. The staff had retired for the night, and the Ashfords settled in their private quarters. Brianna's heart beat like a drum in her chest as she stood in the shadows near the study, waiting for the right moment. Marisol had already gone through the back entrance, a well-timed diversion to draw any attention away from the staff hallway. Brianna stood at the door to the senator's study, the cold metal of the doorknob under her fingers. Her pulse was loud in her ears as she slowly turned it, praying it wouldn't creak. It opened silently, and she stepped inside, careful not to disturb anything. The room was dim, lit only by the glow of a desk lamp and the faint moonlight filtering through the curtains. Her eyes immediately found the large oak desk at the far end of the room. The safe was hidden behind a painting, just as Marisol had said. Brianna's hands trembled as she approached it, the knowledge that every moment could be their last weighing heavily on her shoulders. She had no time to waste. With a quick glance to ensure she was still alone, Brianna pulled the painting aside. There was the safe, sleek and cold, with a heavy door and a small keyhole. Her heart dropped. She hadn't prepared to break a lock. Brianna's breath hitched as she stepped closer, scanning the room for a possible key. Where could it be? The safe was old, and its design was elaborate. She could already hear the faint sounds of footsteps from the hallway. Her mind raced. She couldn't get caught. Think, Brianna. Think. Her eyes scanned the room frantically, landing on a small cabinet beneath the windowsill. She darted across the room, praying no one would come in. She opened the cabinet quickly, going through its contents. Paperweights, stationery, pins, but no key. The footsteps outside the door grew closer. Brianna's pulse spiked. She couldn't give up now. She turned toward the desk, her eyes darting over every inch, every drawer. She tried them all. Empty, empty, empty. Nothing. Then, as her fingers brushed the edge of a drawer, something metal clinked inside. Brianna froze. She pulled the drawer open carefully and reached inside. A small, silver key sat in the corner, tucked underneath a stack of neatly folded papers. Her heart raced. It had to be the key to the safe. With shaking hands, she grabbed it and rushed to the safe. The sound of the footsteps was now mere seconds away. She slid the key into the lock, her fingers numb with fear. The mechanism clicked. Brianna held her breath as the heavy door of the safe swung open, revealing a collection of files, and inside, a manila folder marked with a red stamp. Confidential. She grabbed the folder and shoved it under her arm just as the door handle rattled. Panic gripped her chest. She had no time to think. She darted behind the desk, desperately searching for a place to hide. The door creaked open, and Brianna's heart nearly stopped. It wasn't anyone from the family, but someone from the security team. Her breath caught in her throat as she crouched low, trying to steady herself. The door closed, and she didn't dare move, her pulse pounding in her ears. After a tense moment, the footsteps faded away. Brianna exhaled quietly, feeling the weight of the folder in her arms. She knew she had to get out fast. She rushed out the door, down the hallway, and toward the kitchen, where Marisol was waiting. Her heart still raced, and her fingers ached from her tight grip on the folder. Marisol turned as she entered, her expression tight with anticipation. "You got it?" she whispered urgently. Brianna nodded, handing over the folder. "I got it. This is the proof." Marisol quickly opened the folder, skimming through the documents. Her eyes widened. "Brianna, this is bigger than we thought. These records go back years." Brianna's heart pounded in her chest. This is enough to expose them. But Brianna knew it wasn't enough. Although the document contained bank records, emails, and even printed transcripts of phone calls, they deny it all and claim it was forged. She needed more. The next morning, her phone rang. She froze at the name on the screen. "Malik's been arrested," the voice on the other end said. "Possession of stolen state property. Laptop with classified files tied to Senator Ashford's office. He's being arraigned in 48 hours. It's being fast-tracked." Brianna collapsed into a chair. Her world spun. They were serious. They were moving fast, too fast. They wanted him gone before the truth could ever come to light. Back at the mansion, Brianna returned to work like nothing had happened. She scrubbed the same floors, served the same breakfast, and took their orders with a bowed head. But it didn't take long. You know, Eleanor Ashford snapped from her seat by the fireplace, wine glass in hand. "I always knew your kind had sticky fingers." Charles, seated near the bookshelf, didn't even flinch. "It's in their blood," he said coolly. "They smile in your face while plotting behind your back. She's probably just like her brother. Thieves. All of them. Black, filthy thieves." Brianna clenched her jaw, her spine rigid. Her eyes didn't meet theirs. She took the insult like a maid should, silent, small. But inside, she burned. She let them have their moment because she knew she held the final card. And it was almost time to play it. 2 days later, the Courtroom of Justice, Washington, D.C., was packed. Brianna sat on the edge of the pew, her fingers interlaced tightly, eyes locked on Malik as he was led and wearing shackles. His face was bruised. His eyes were tired but defiant. Her throat burned. She had promised to protect him, and she still would. The prosecution laid out its case with speed and confidence, citing tampering with federal property, theft of government documents, and even whispers of treason. The evidence was stacked. A laptop wiped clean, but found suspiciously close to the state security archives, and camera footage placing Malik near restricted zones. The Ashfords' lawyer rose, a tall man in a tailored navy suit, with a voice that oozed charm and condescension in equal measure. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," he began, pacing slowly, "let's not be distracted by theatrics. What we have here is not a conspiracy, but a crime of opportunity. A young man, Malik Carter, saw a chance to exploit his proximity to power. He turned to the jury, eyes narrowing just enough to suggest concern. This is someone with access. His sister works in the senator's home. He visits often. He's been seen near sensitive locations. He knows the routines, the layout. Then came the smile, tight and sharp. And now, conveniently, there's a laptop. Planted? Maybe. Wiped clean? Certainly. And placed exactly where law enforcement would stumble upon it. He gestured toward the prosecution's evidence table with mock sympathy. These documents, he shook his head. Laughable. Forged. Full of inconsistencies. No signatures. No traceable origins. And the timeline? Doesn't even line up with Senator Ashford's official schedule. He pivoted, letting silence stretch. My clients are being painted as villains because of their status, their wealth, and, let's not ignore it, their race. But what's on trial here is the truth. And the truth is the Carter boy was in the wrong place, doing the wrong thing at exactly the wrong time. Brianna clenched her fists, her nails biting into her palms. She could feel the narrative slipping. The lawyer was turning Malik into the story's author. The mastermind. The fall guy. And for a terrifying moment, it worked. The jury leaned in, and the murmurs from the press gallery grew louder. Brianna felt the tide shifting. He was twisting the truth, reshaping it like clay. But she wasn't done. He didn't know what she knew. He didn't know about the camera. That night, when the house was quiet and the Ashfords were asleep, after she had gotten the documents and bid Marisol goodnight, she returned to the study. Her heart thudded as she slipped a tiny camera behind a row of leather-bound books, one of the family's frequent meeting spots. They always talked here. They schemed here. She didn't know what they would say next, but if they planned to move forward, she would catch it. Now, in court, as the Ashfords' lawyer leaned into another round of smug denial, the defense attorney, Malik's public defender, stood. He cleared his throat. "Your Honor," he said, "we'd like to submit new evidence." The room shifted. The judge nodded. "Proceed." The lights dimmed. A video began to play on the court's overhead monitor. The courtroom fell into silence. On screen, the Ashfords' private study. Dark panel walls. Oil paintings of forgotten ancestors. The same room where Brianna had spent months cleaning in silence. Now it was her evidence. Charles sat in his armchair, swirling a glass of scotch. "It'll stick. Malik's got no alibi. We'll have him behind bars before the week's out." Margot, perched on the edge of the desk, laughed softly. "And the laptop?" "Wiped and dropped near the maintenance gate," Charles replied. "Right where they'll find it. Kid won't know what hit him." Then Chase's voice came in, smug, low. "And Brianna?" "She's harmless," Charles said. "House girl. She'll keep her head down." Margot sneered. "She better, or she'll end up worse than her brother." A quiet gasp rolled through the courtroom. The judge slammed the gavel. "Stop the recording." Murmurs surged like a wave. The prosecution sat stunned. The defense attorney folded his hands with satisfaction. The truth had come from the Ashfords' mouths. "Officers," the judge ordered, "detain Charles and Margot Ashford for conspiracy, evidence tampering, and obstruction of justice." Margot stood, her face flushed red with disbelief. "This is absurd. This video is illegal. That girl planted it." But Charles didn't speak. He simply stared straight ahead, jaw tight, as if silence might still shield him. The officers didn't hesitate. As they were led away, Margot turned and spat toward Brianna. "You'll regret this." Brianna didn't flinch. Her back straightened, her eyes calm. "I already did," she said quietly. "But not anymore." As the judge ordered the bailiffs forward, chaos erupted. Margot screamed, lunging for her husband. Chase shouted, eyes wide with disbelief. But it was too late. The truth was no longer theirs to bury. Charles Ashford stood frozen as the cold steel of the handcuffs clicked around his wrists. The cameras flashed. The whispers turned to roars. And through it all, the cries of his wife and son filled the courtroom like the sirens of a sinking ship. But Charles heard none of it. His mind was drowning in something heavier. Shame and regret. The girl he had dismissed as invisible. The black maid whose name he barely remembered. The one whose skin, background, and silence he'd mistaken for weakness had outsmarted them all. She hadn't just cleaned his house. She had dismantled his legacy, one lie at a time. And as he was led away, head low, Charles Ashford realized too late that power built on prejudice always collapses when the people you least expect decide they've had enough. If this story gave you chills or made you think twice about judging people by appearances, don't forget to like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this one.